Hello and welcome to Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP John Paz. With me, of course, the star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion. He is one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing great today, John, as always.
Nice. So, what's going on in your world and what's going on in the world of the JPWA right now?
You know, it never stops turning, and JPWA, we're getting this is the ninth week, so we're getting close to graduation at week 12 at the SPCW Sportatorium in La Follette, Tennessee. I think these guys, I tell everybody when we first start, you're going to be amazed at how fast this goes by. And without thinking about it, here we are at 9 weeks. So we're staying busy and got some good guys this time.
Is the La Follette area, is that the Kazana promotions? Are they in that area?
No, they are in Sweetwater actually, or it's called something else too. Hello, Jason. No, this is Matt and Johnny, Matt Bolins, and I think Johnny last name. Hello, Ibsen.
Hello.
I'll tell the best trainer in the world hello for you. But anyway, no, it's not the Kazana Promotions. Kazana is in Decatur and Sweetwater. But I am training along with AJ Kazana. I'm training Joe Kazana's youngest son. He goes by Captain Kirk Kazana. His name is Kirk, but he likes to put that captain in there. You know the old Star Wars reference, Star Trek.
Yes, Captain Kirk. William Shatner.
Not Star Wars. Yeah, Star Trek. So, but I asked him when was the last time Star Trek was hot, and he got hot at me, I guess. So, anyway, we're doing good, man. We're doing good. We're waiting for the next class to come in a couple of weeks. So,
hello, Brendan,
we'll
and
keep
hello,
rolling.
Colton.
Woo!
I was thinking that because I was looking at some Smoky Mountain, some old matches and stuff, and Joe Kazana's name popped up a bunch. I didn't realize
Joe Kazana.
Yeah, I didn't realize he wrestled for Smoky Mountain.
Yes, he did. Wrestled for Smoky Mountain, WCW. Wrestled for a lot of southern promotions, mostly in the southeast.
Interesting. And of course, I talked about Smoky Mountain because it's the topic at hand tonight, the topic that we wanted to discuss, and that was Smoky Mountain Wrestling 30 years ago, coming up on actually just past 30 years of the Smoky Mountain invasion of a WCW. What was going on with Cornette at this point that he got the idea of, hey, I'll head back there. Watts is in charge at this point, not for long, but he was in charge. And then he's going to jump, and they're going to do the first that I've heard of, the first that I know of, the invasion angle.
Well, I think that all went back to Watts. I think that went back to the relationship Jim and Bill Watts had from Louisiana. So, Smoky Mountain was a great place to go. It came along way too late. I mean, the business was changing, the territories were going away, and when Jim came for WCW to Knoxville, this is a unique spot because they still want to watch wrestling and all that good stuff. And I think he really did believe that he could open up a territory, an old school territory in Knoxville, and maybe any other time he could because the Fullers have done it a couple times. I believe maybe 3 times came to Knoxville, opened it up, and it's a good town if you give the wrestling fans what they want. And of course, times change and people change and styles change and everything changes. So the world was becoming a smaller place, and it wasn't so easy to run even a monthly show, because people wanted to see the superstars. They wanted to see the guys that they saw on their national stage and were portrayed as the top guys. So I think Jim was just wanting to look to expand WCW because they had TBS and make it a developmental territory, it being Smoky Mountain, like a developmental territory, and switch trade talent back and forth. But And I believe that could have worked with Bill Watts being in charge, but once I think it was right before we actually did the match, Bill got fired for it was email, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And
a letter or whatever it was. Yeah, that Mark Madden had sent along that he was pro this racist restaurant, and he defended the guy. And Watts was really kind of on the offensive with this guy that he was friends with. And Hank Aaron got a hold of it, and then Hank Aaron got a hold of Ted Turner, and that was the end of Watts.
yeah, and
A restaurateur in town that didn't want to serve blacks. Yeah.
well, I didn't know what the particulars were, but at the same time, um, it was a different time and place, and the culture was switching. Uh, the culture. Let me say this: I think Bill Watts lived under his own culture, under his own rules, and when you go work for somebody else, then you find out it's a a whole new world out there. So,
Yep.
yeah, what happens happens. Or I think Doris Day. I'm not sure you remember Doris Day, but Que Sera Sera. Yeah,
Yes. Whatever will
sure.
be, will be.
Oh,
Uh,
you know Doris, of course. Who could
yeah.
help but love Doris?
Um, Ibsen wants to know what was Corny's opinion on the USWA at this point.
I think at this point too, he's looking for the same thing. He's always had a great relationship with the USWA and the Jarretts and Lawlers and Dundees of the world, and was looking for a place again to get Smoky Mountain out of the East Tennessee region, move it back, into Evansville and Memphis and Louisville and things like that. And we made some shots there during our time frame, so um, he liked it, and I'm sure again he would have loved to have had a great relationship, working relationship, if it could have worked out financially for both companies, but wasn't to be.
Scorch says, I always liked the idea of different wrestling promotions collaborating with each other. Back in the day, I felt like wrestler exchanges kept each promotion's product, quote unquote, fresh for the fans. I definitely agree.
Oh, I definitely agree too, and that was the key. That's why guys would stay one place maybe a year. Some guys stayed less. Some guys stayed more. And but that's still the key, keeping it fresh, and that's the problem. I know we're not talking about this, but I have to say one of the deals that a big difference between the PC and FCW was FCW was on a station that really nobody nobody was watching, and that was the intent, to not get everybody on a national platform right away until they're ready, and that was, but you still had the opportunity to work TV and get that experience under your belt. So you're not really getting let's say altogether fresh new talent when the guys from NXT move up to the main roster, because they've already been seen by the national audience or worldwide audience. So the developmental system was designed originally to not expose them to a national or global audience until they're ready. And that kind of helped keep things fresh for a while. But I agree. Exchanging talent it was always a good idea. Just give somebody a break.
Mike D. Hello, Mike D.
Mike?
Uh-oh, it's Barbara. Hey, Dr. Tom, good to see you. Sorry I'm late.
Barbara, we waited for you. We were on tonight. I'm coming back. I'm like now it's about 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic from Knoxville to La Follette from my house. So some nights are good. Sometimes I get out early. Sometimes I get out late. So it's going to be different times, man. And there might be there will be some times where I'm going to have to miss because our schedule is getting crazy. My schedule is getting crazy. Let me say that.
Bo, Dr. John, did you have your banana pudding shake?
No, I came right home because I realized how late it was, and I was going to get my wife a banana pudding shake. but I called her and said no, she didn't want one. So I said, well, I'll just do it another time my own self. So no, Bo, I did not get my banana pudding shake, but I will. Okay.
Vince had Pat. Paul Heyman had Todd Gordon. Who did Corny have as a consultant right hand man?
Nobody. He had Sandy Scott helping him run the towns, but it was a one man show. It really was, and that's why. Uh, I don't think anybody can appreciate the scope of what running a territory is and everything involved from the details on up. And really, Cornette had Casey O'Connor, he had Sandy Scott, Brian Hildebrand helping him. But other than that, it was Jim. And Sandy Scott was getting towns. Sandy Scott was helping out hugely. Dutch was helping with Dutch Mantel was helping with commentary. JR, when he got let go or released or on hiatus, whatever it was, he came in and helped. Les Thatcher, another veteran who knew enough about the wrestling business to help out, was helping. So I guess Jim had different people helping, but he didn't have a Pat Patterson or Todd Gordon, or in that case, even a Paul Heyman. He didn't have anybody he could really consult to. I certainly wasn't the guy back then to come up with ideas or bounce ideas off, and I don't think Stan wanted to really get into that part of the business yet. So there wasn't. I mean, you had Kevin Sullivan also, I think, who might have offered some ideas. You know, it was Kevin who suggested Jimmy Del Rey, and that was about it, really. I guess he had different people he could talk to, but he didn't have that one guy who, once he said this was good or bad, he would take it because it was Jim who decided that.
Brendan said that's why I loved RVD while he went to the WWF. He was really in ECW, but it was fresh and it made a great storyline for both promotions. Meaning the same thing with Smoky Mountain. When you guys invade and you guys show up on their TV, it kind of keeps you fresher on both shows.
Yeah, and it was to help boost us too, and the optics of us going over to a promotion scene nationwide, worldwide, TBS. It was all about perception. It was all about keeping us fresh and keeping talent fresh in WCW. They could come over to Knoxville and the Smoky Mountain territory for a while and give those towns a break in Atlanta or in Georgia. So I agree.
On 125.93 on Saturday night, Smoky Mountain Tag Title match, the Rock and Roll Express defeat the Heavenly Bodies by DQ in about 6 minutes and change. Of course, at center stage in Atlanta. But the interesting thing is, as you keep rolling through 93 and keep going with the feud, Watts is obviously in charge of WCW still at this point. Cornette and Smoky Mountain, like you said, begins to work with them. But it's funny, they show Rock and Roll Express is returning to WCW. That's the big thing, that they're coming back. They're coming back. So they keep showing tapes of them beating you on Smoky Mountain TV. And like that's kind of how it got rolling with Cornette and you invading, saying, what is this? Basically you guys are pissed off that
Right.
kind of taking the Rock and Roll Express back, if you will, to WCW.
Yeah, why would they want those guys back? Why would they want us there? And then they had to show us getting beaten week after week. So I think that's a horrible, horrible character assassination on the Heavenly Bodies and Jim Cornette.
Jeff, and actually Jeff's Variety Channel. Ricky was so popular in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Do you think it would have worked putting the Smoky Mountain heavyweight belt on him?
Look, I got to tell you, I think anything would have worked with Ricky Morton, especially at that time. I've said this many times before. I'll say it again. I even said this when Ricky Steamboat came to visit us. I made the mistake of saying one of the two greatest baby faces of all time, Ricky Steamboat, when I introduced him to the class. And Ricky said, "Who's the other one?" I said, "Ricky Morton." And I kind of got this look, and I thought, well, okay, I understand. But I've always thought Ricky Morton is one of the greatest baby faces as far as telling a story and getting sympathy and understanding psychology. He grew up in it and knew it. And so I think anything he did with Ricky Morton, if done correctly, would get over. And yeah, put the belt. He might have. Did he never have the singles Smoky Mountain Championship?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
Just the tag. Yep.
that might have been the next step. I know Brad Armstrong was a Smoky Mountain champion, I believe, right? I think he was. He was Smoky Mountain champion. Yes, he was. Yeah.
Okay.
He defended in Memphis a couple times.
I know Bobby Blaze shockingly was the champ. I know that.
Well, there you go. It's a shock. It's different. Nobody would have suspected that.
And he's a hometown boy. They loved him down there.
Of course.
So really, when the angle starts to get going, it's Cornette, yourself, and Stan Lane, the Heavenly Bodies from Smoky Mountain. They show up at WCW. You guys are coming out through the crowd. You're calling out Watts. Cornette's going to have a nice little promo. There's supposed to be an impromptu match. That's about to happen. And does happen. But the thing is that when Cornette says all this anti-WCW stuff, it all comes out. He says it. He's allowed to say it. But then all of it doesn't air. And that's kind of a problem. So they don't actually air everything that Cornette said. What's the reasoning? Was it too was it too inside baseball? What was the reason?
Well, no one ever came to me and explained what the reason actually was, but I have my own guess, and I think it was because Cornette hit so hard and hit him where it hurt. And some people, I know it may sound petty, and I know petty is never something that happens in wrestling. Nobody's ever petty in professional wrestling. So, but this one time and one time only, somebody was so petty to take and edit things that might have hit a little too close to the bone and too close to the personal issues at hand. And looking back on it, why wouldn't you want to have somebody talking like that? But it was WCW business as usual, I guess. And getting rid of Watts told us that there was, if we wanted to continue to come back, there would be kind of the same stuff going on as it was before, and that was the last thing Jim Cornette wanted.
And then that leads to your tag match with the Rocco Express that you finish. But this all kind of happens on the same taping. But it's just interesting to note that Cornette says all this great stuff and then, then you go back and watch it, and it's not exactly what was on the original tape, if you will. Like you said, somebody maybe thought it hit a little too close to home. They edited it out. Maybe they weren't a part of the angle because Watts is going to be gone right after this. So that could play a part of it too. That they don't know what the hell's going on with the angle because they weren't originally clued into it.
Yeah, I don't think the only people who knew about it was the people who needed to know about it. And I'm not sure how far that went up. Obviously JR knew about it and the announcers, but whoever else needed to know about it didn't. They knew. So the other guys who didn't probably thought, well, we'll just fix his wagon right now. I mean, petty stuff, but what were we to expect after Bill Watts left?
Kind of kills the invasion. It kind of hurts the invasion.
Well, I don't think they were really worried about how. I don't think they were really concerned about how our angle was going to go because they were going to bury us if we stuck around, no matter what. I remember when we got there, Jimmy said, "Don't wear the belts out." Perfect, because all they do is bury it, and that was pretty much what they did. So we did our best, and I thought it was a pretty good angle, but things changed, and we had to adapt, and we did.
Jason says Corny had said something about having issues with Eric Bischoff during the Smoky Mountain WCW invasion. Do you know more of what that was all about? Was he the guy that kind of cut this thing short?
It could have been, but I don't recall being told that, and I was I was so uninterested in in those maneuverings, if you will. It was such a cluster, and I knew what Jim had been through. The reason he left was because of the bullshit in WCW before, and what would be any difference now that. And I've never not got along with Eric Bischoff, but I never worked for him either. I've only seen Eric in a couple of different places, and we've been cordial and talked, and I have nothing bad to say about Eric Bischoff. He's always been seemed like a he seemed like a guy I could have a conversation with over a beer or a Coke or whatever you wanted. But but you got to remember, I think they messed with Jim Cornette because Jim was passionate about his business and about his dealings in wrestling, and I believe they were trying to bury the Midnight Express. They're trying to bury Cornette, and Jimmy knew it. They all knew it, and for whatever reason, he and Bischoff just didn't see eye to eye.
Seemed like Bischoff gets put in place. That wasn't his idea. He didn't know what was going on, and he just didn't want to, I guess, be a part of it. But the funny thing is, Cornette had the footage at Smoky Mountain, the full footage of what he said. So he was able to play in Smoky Mountain. You're able to see the whole thing. And it's funny when you go to the WCW, it's like, wow, this is a sanitized version of what Cornette said. What the hell?
Yeah, but how many people actually went to Smoky Mountain in WCW? So WCW probably got the bigger audience, and they heard that version. So we've got sanitized wherever we go.
Barbara says, "Hope your cold is better."
It's better, but I still have stuffed up sinuses. I do.
Terry says, "Love you, Dr. Tom." Look at that. Nice.
Awesome, Terry. Thank you.
And there's a bunch of other awesome questions on here that I will get to. One is very funny from Charles. From Charles. I will get to that later because it has nothing to do with Smoky Mountain. But we'll definitely get to everybody's question because there's a good one in there that I'm very curious about from Charles. So we'll get to that in a minute. But Ibsen, did the territory, Smoky Mountain, did they have a power plant that was known? Did they have somewhere for the guys to train in Smoky Mountain?
No. And once again, you got to remember, many years ago, there weren't a lot of wrestling schools around. There was Tony Santos Wrestling School up in Boston that everybody trained at, from Les Thatcher to Dusty Rhodes. Guys back then, if you wanted to train, you had to find somebody who would train you. Buddy Fuller had a ring in his barn, and you would work on the farm all day. Then at night they'd get you in the ring and stretch you and all this other crap. And but during our time with the territories, it was on the job training more than not. I do remember in San Antonio when I came back from California, Hercules Hernandez had just come in. Manny Fernandez was there. Chava was there. And Manny wanted to take Herc and myself down to the ring in the Junction that was always set up. And we worked out there a couple times, but nothing like a power plant or a PC, anything like that. It didn't exist until later on. And the first one, I think, was a power plant in WCW when they did something like that. But the goal, I think, for the power plant was just to blow these guys up and try and make them quit. What we were trying to do when it first started in WWE was see if they actually had any talent or had the capacity to learn, and that was the goal.
Barbara wants to know if you're really the older brother. Bruce looks so much older than you. She wanted to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I am the older brother, but
wiser, older and wiser.
No. I'm older and wiser now than I was. Obviously, I'm older and wiser than I was yesterday, but doesn't mean I'm going to be smarter. But he is the younger, wiser brother. I will say that.
Hi there from Lee.
Lee? Hello.
Colton, since why the question being ignored, the non-Smoky Mountain questions will be answered. I promise, Colton. We will get to them. But right now, I just wanted to finish up
He
the
must have
Smoky
a
Mountain
burning
story.
desire. He must have a
Yes,
burning
yes,
question.
yes.
Okay, so don't forget that, John.
Sticking on topic with Smoky Mountain, of course. Jeff says, "What was the fallout of Cornette and Tim Horner?"
Honestly, I don't know. I wasn't privy to that either, but I think it was probably a matter of, and this is just pure speculation on my part, but I think Tim being from Morristown or being a part, I know he was a part when they were gathering all the things they needed to gather before it's opened. I think Tim played a big part in that. And whatever happened for the fallout, it could be a simple miscommunication. It could just be that Tim assumed one thing and Jim had other plans, and that happens too all the time. You assume you're going to do something and get rewarded whatever you believe is going to be your reward, whether it's you get to be the champion, you get to run these shows. I don't know, but I know that's two distinct personalities that could clash if you're not careful.
Con Cortez says, "Is this the feud where Corny had the nosebleed?" Not that I remember.
Well, the angle was with Rock and Roll Express, where he's talking about, and he
But it
has
wasn't the invasion, was it?
wasn't
Wasn't
the
a part of it.
invasion. No, I don't think it was the invasion.
It is interesting to note that you guys do come back for a TV tape. I know we talked about this a while ago, a long time ago. It was a part of a worldwide TV taping in Gainesville, Georgia on 2/9/93. Steamboat, Shane Douglas, and the Rock and Roll Express versus the Heavenly Bodies, obviously you and Stan Lane, and Flying Brian Pillman and Stone Cold Stunning Steve Austin. Match goes 10 minutes and goes to a double DQ. Man, what an 8-man tag. Holy crap. I got to get my hands on that one.
Yeah, it was exactly what you would think if you have 8 minutes with 8 guys in there. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was the first time I was in the ring with Steamboat. I've been in the ring with Shane Douglas before. And first time I'd been in the ring with Steve before too, tagging up. But first time with Steamboat, and of course Rock and Roll we worked with forever. So, but it was a pretty good tag match. It really was. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody knew what we were doing.
8 awesome guys in the ring together, man. It's pretty amazing. The talent level there.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was awesome.
When you look at it, though, it kind of kills the invasion angle that you guys are teaming up with the Hollywood Blondes and you're in the ring with, Steamboat and Change. It kind of kills the invasion angle right there, too.
Well, I think what the way I envisioned the invasion, let's say that 5 times.
Yeah, right.
Angle was coming in mainly against Watts and the Babyface and the good guys in rock and roll because they were pushing rock and roll and coming in, you're plugging these guys by showing them beating us. Well, so I think that was mainly how it started. And I think teaming with guys like Austin and Pillman as heels kind of had the same mindset, and they were against the establishment just as much as we were. So I don't know if it's that weird.
So basically, the invasion angle is killed. Then the pay-per-view happens, Super Brawl 3. Big pay-per-view, awesome show. We talked about this, go back in the archives. 2/21/93, Super Brawl 3 from Asheville Civic Center, Asheville, North Carolina. The Rock and Roll Express defeat the Heavenly Bodies by DQ in 13 minutes. That is the good match that you guys had in 1993 against the Rock and Roll Express.
No,
the
they
bad
didn't.
one
Well, go ahead. The bad one, what?
the bad one that you always say was Survivor Series 93. That was not great.
Well, it was a good match to the people from the South. It's you people from the North.
Hey, I like both.
I know, but all I was going to say, the Rock and Roll didn't beat us by disqualification in Asheville. They beat me. They won the match.
Right. Okay. Yep.
So they won the DQ, and they wanted to make sure they beat us like a drum. So we just did it our way. But it was
That
fun.
is true, though.
Yeah.
The crowd in Boston, for some reason, a lot different. North Carolina, I mean, they ate that match up. That match is awesome. They loved it, but the Boston
Yeah.
crowd for Survivor Series did not.
Listen, we've talked about this before, and I get it. And even in the Garden, Vladimir used to give us so much shit. Uh, on
Remember
the
that
front
guy?
row. Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that guy.
and
Yeah,
Ringside
sure.
Charlie.
Yeah, ringside, whatever. And so they let you know if they liked you or not, or cared about you or not. They obviously didn't. So that's okay. I mean, I get it. Not everybody can be uh, the Midnight Express or Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. So you got to find your niche and hang on to it, I guess. But yes, the North and South is a real thing when it comes to wrestling.
Whose idea was it for Survivor Series 93 against Rock and Roll Express to have it happen on pay per view and not a random Raw? Did Cornette need the money for the promotion? Well, the whole thing was that, right? Wasn't it that Cornette was trying to work at WCW, didn't work? Then he decided to work with WWF, and obviously he was the manager for Yokozuna, the American.
Right. No, Survivor Series 93 was to put us on the card. We were going to be doing an angle and working with switching and trading talent back and forth. And it worked for a little bit until Smoky Mountain closed down. Had nothing to do. Well, of course, did Cornette need money for the promotion? Well, it was being bankrolled, but at the same time, yeah, you need money. You need to sustain, and you can't keep losing money in running. So, yeah, the more money you make, the better.
Barbara says, how is it when musical people like Rick Rubin, like you mentioned, who was bankrolling Smoke Mountain, and Billy Corgan run wrestling organizations? Do you think they have a lot of input, or they let the wrestling people run it? Thank you.
I believe they have their input as well as they should because it's their money and it's their vision. Um, I know Billy Corgan especially will let the wrestling people run it, but if he has an idea, he has an idea, and it's his company. The NWA, no matter what you think of it, no matter where it is in the world these days, um, you have to have a vision, and then you have to have people who can carry out your vision. But I've I think it's great when you have people come in and want to try and help and want to try and make wrestling what they fell in love with. And if you can do that and make money at it, great. But both Rick Rubin and Billy Corgan had a vision, wanted to dabble, and found wrestling people that they like and trust to put their vision in action. And I've liked it both times. I'm liking it right now with the NWA. I think the NWA is certainly giving guys and gals a platform, and they're looking to give people opportunities, and so that's all I'll say about that.
Rio Sonic. I couldn't help but notice how much the Rockers imitated the Rock and Roll Express in the way that they sold for their heel opponent and elicited sympathy from the fans. What do you think about that, Rockers and Rock and Roll Express?
Well, Shawn Michaels was just breaking in when Ricky and Robert and Bobby and Dennis were hot in Louisiana. So, of course, Shawn Michaels is going to watch the greats who came up around, who he came up around, uh, and studied people like that. And again, Ricky Morton is one of the greatest baby faces of all time. And if you can't watch that and learn, then you're missing the boat, especially as a babyface. And that's a case study. That's some of the stuff I will tell young baby faces to watch is a young Ricky Morton. Watch his fire, watch him sell up, watch him always fight back, and make the heel cut him off and get some heat. So I think it makes perfect sense to me. Sean would definitely want to emulate Ricky.
Oh, it says the full segment was played in syndication on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, heavily edited on TBS, which obviously was where the most eyes saw it. As
Well,
far as
other
the
than that,
invasion and the
yeah,
Cornette promo.
yeah, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I mean, come on, what the hell? They did heavily edit on TBS because they were butthurt, I guess. But what are you gonna do in the corporate world?
Charles, this is a serious question before we get to his great question
Okay.
in a little bit. Was there a solid recommended Smoky Mountain Wrestling documentary or a DVD released on Smoky Mountain?
I don't know about a documentary, but or I think I don't know if there's a solid recommended Smoky Mountain documentary. I know there's a couple documentaries out there about Smoky Mountain. Some are accurate, some aren't. But whoever did them, some are severely off base, some are only just slightly off base, and then some are like, eh. So I don't think there's a solid recommended documentary.
Documentary.
Thank you, or a documentary. That's like an ambulance. Come on,
Yeah.
this is an ambulance. The hell?
Yeah. It's a little southern there for you.
Very southern.
Jeff's got a good question. How come Jimmy Valiant wasn't in Smoky Mountain? He was doing a lot of indies at the time. He would have been great for the territory.
I don't know. Maybe it was a money thing. Maybe it was a health thing. Maybe it was one of those things that he just wasn't available. Maybe he was doing other indies that were going to pay him a lot more. Handsome could pick and choose. Handsome can probably still pick and choose. That's a Bob James question. That's the King of Kingsport.
Yeah, Bo, come on, step up.
Bo,
why the hell wasn't Jimmy Valiant?
Why didn't Valiant do any daggone Smoky Mountain shows?
But he knows, and he won't reveal it, but he knows.
Yeah, well, he'll call him and ask him. Yeah, I had great memories too, by the way. So thank you for the memories. Smoky Mountain was an awesome place to work.
Were the wrestlers aware of Rick Rubin's involvement?
Yes, everybody was aware of Rick Rubin's involvement.
Hello, how are you doing from Yesenia?
Is it Yesenia? I'm doing great. I'm doing tremendous. I'm trying to find out why Bo James hasn't answered us about Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah, he's definitely, for a reason, he's hiding that for some reason.
I think it is.
But as far as, before I get to these other great questions that are just randomly here, they're all over the place, so they're just random just to get you. Just wanted to put a little bow on it.
Not Bo James. You want to put a bow on it, though.
Yeah, see? Okay. On the invasion angle, it ended like a fart in church. It did not end well at all. It could have been awesome with the first ever. Hey, had it been successful, who knows? Maybe the NWO never happens. Who knows?
If is a middle word in life, and we'll never know. But it did end like a fart in church. It was. I don't know how else it could have ended because there was some.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I didn't know if you were.
No, I was just going to say, I think when you have bombastic personalities like Jim Cornette and Bill Watts with corporate people who, my experience with corporate America is, I don't know. That's why I'm here, I guess. So, but it did, and it didn't end well.
Bo James. Handsome Jimmy Valiant was booked 4 or 5 nights a week, regular in the old Mid-Atlantic and Tennessee areas. No pressure, making a great living. I was with him most of that time.
So you held him back.
Yeah,
so you stopped him from coming to Smoky Mountain. Okay, just want to make sure. I'll tell Jim. He was asking about me. Yeah, that's cool. You held him back.
Was Cornette against? Cornette against booking Bo James for Smoky Mountain?
I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know if he was or not. I don't know why he would be. I think he likes Bo James. But then again, I couldn't be sure. Bo can be very unlikable at times.
Yeah.
Yep. It could have been one of those times where he's hanging out with Hanson being very unlikable.
All right, we got some random questions here. These are just off the wall fan questions, Q&A style. Colton, here it is. Dr. Tom, do you have real heat with Alex Wright at Berlin? He said that you slept with his wife. Is this true? Do you have heat with Alex Wright?
What? Wait a minute. What?
Is that true?
No, I don't. I don't even know Alex Wright. I know Stephen Wright, his dad. Wait, Alex Wright. Who is Alex Wright?
The wrestler, Alex Wright from WCW. His dad was
Yeah,
Steve Wright. Yep. Yep.
yeah. Steve Wright was his
Yeah.
dad.
Yep.
I
Do you
never,
have
I
heat with
never
him?
met. I never even met Alex.
He
Sure
said
as
he has
hell.
heat with you in real life. Is
He's
that
such a
true?
good guy. Why would he have real life talk to him? Yeah, I have no idea. I think that's you know, somebody told me a story, and I won't mention any names, but it was about some other wrestler who pulled a gun on me, and I ran out of a restaurant, and that never happened. But there were people asking me, and I thought, no, no, that never happened. So I don't know how these rumors get started, but that's a new one.
That sounds like a Bill Dundee story, if I've ever heard one.
As far as what?
Like getting a gun pulled on him, kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah, could be, but no, I that didn't happen. A lot of things that people people believe these days aren't true, and that's not true. I never slept with Alex Wright's wife, and I never had heat with Alex Wright. I've never met Alex Wright.
Okay. Here's a great question from Charles.
Okay.
Dr. Tom, you're the best. Did you ever see the Paige Xavier Woods video? Very nice.
No, no, I really don't have any desire to see that. That was look, man. You had a bunch of kids in Florida, and it just they're kids. I mean, when you're in your early 20s, you're still a kid. So,
Yeah.
no, have no desire to see it.
Are you familiar? Follow up. Are you familiar with Brad Maddox and his pickle plunging? Are you familiar with Brad Maddox at all?
I know Brad, but yeah, I don't know the pickle plunging. No.
Ibsen wanted to say rest in peace to Davy Boy Smith's father, who passed away this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I didn't know that, but that's it, I guess.
From Robbie Sand, hey Tom, who's the most down to earth wrestler you've ever met?
Brad Armstrong.
Good point. From
Yeah.
Richard Robles, Tom Prichard, do you want to be the Impact Wrestling general manager? Wow. Is he
Not
giving you the
no,
job?
but hell no.
Okay.
I don't. I don't want to be anybody's general manager. I'm good.
From
I
John
like what
Perry.
I'm doing. Go ahead.
From John Perry. Hi, Dr. Tom. How are you? Do you think the WWE should bring back the gimmick battle royal for WrestleMania?
Yeah, I do. I sure do. I think you should. I think they should. It'd be awesome.
From Fire Maskell. Tom, any knowledge of a wrestler, Mr. Mister? He tagged with Bill Irwin in the early 90s in Dallas. No info on him online at all.
No, actually, I know Mr. Mister is a band, but no, I don't have any information or any knowledge of that. And if it was only a couple times and there's no information on him, he probably wasn't that important.
From Joseph M. Did you ever fart during a high spot?
I fart during all my spots,
Mike
whether it's
D.
a high spot or not. Yeah.
Mike D, are you friends with Bob Holly?
Well, it asks if I'm close friends with Bob Holly.
Close
No,
friends.
I don't know if we're close friends, but yeah, I was friends with Bob Holly. I like Bob.
Mike D says also, do you think the Powers of Pain or Orient Express will go into the Hall of Fame?
It depends who's choosing. I think the Powers of Pain certainly, well, would deserve a spot in somebody's Hall of Fame, and maybe even the Orient Express. But it's a matter of who's choosing, what the criteria is. I mean, I think we went over this before. What is the criteria?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
So I mean, whoever's thinking about it and choosing and figuring out after you make out a list of people who aren't in the Hall of Fame and And they go, yep, yep, no, no. So just depends.
From Sam, is WWE going to sell to Saudi Arabia, or is Tony Khan going to buy it?
I just don't see it being sold to Saudi Arabia. That to me, just my inclination and my gut feeling when I hear stuff like that, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound plausible. Then I look at the live golf gimmick,
Yep.
and anything is possible, but uh, I don't see it. But that doesn't mean it won't happen.
From Tony Rotten, did you ever wrestle Eddie Crawford?
I don't believe I have. I don't know. Wait, is that Snowman?
I don't know if it was. No, I don't. Good question. I'm
Crawford.
not sure.
It might have been because it was Snowman. I think I worked with Snowman a couple times in Memphis, but I don't
Really
know.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, now let me take that back because I knew the Snowman in Memphis, and but I think we did work a couple times, but I don't know who Eddie Crawford is.
Long story short, said I like the Powers of Pain, but Demolition isn't even in the Hall of Fame. Good
Yeah,
point. Good point.
yeah, it's a very good point. I think Demolition deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But there it goes again. Who's picking? Who's choosing? Who's deciding? And that could be that is the deciding factor. Who decides?
Terry Donahue is asking if Dickie Slater is still around. He is not,
No,
unfortunately.
he passed away how many years ago now? At least 10.
I was going to say 12, probably, right? Wasn't it
Yeah,
around 2010 ish?
maybe so. Yeah.
Barbara was saying, speaking of Dick Slater, how tough was he?
Well, I tell the story of Evan Johnson from Minnesota. Paul Bosch had a 3-day tournament for his 50th year in wrestling or something like that.
He was a
And
legit wrestler, right, Evan?
yeah, legit wrestler, amateur wrestler. And I wrote about this when I had my website. And his daughters were looking up his name, and he sent me some email saying I was wrong about this incident that happened. Well, no, I'm not wrong, Evan. If you're listening now, I'm still not wrong because I was there. We were in Houston, and Slater was the booker. And I always got along with Dick Slater because why wouldn't you? Because he'll kill you if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, X Sting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so we're there on the first night, Friday night, and Paul is flown in people from all over the country, different territories and stuff like that. And Evan is one of them. So Dickie books himself to work with Evan Johnson because he's supposed to be this green kid, shooter, whatever it is. And they go out in the ring, and Evan doesn't understand, won't cooperate with Dickie. So Evan takes him down this amateur stuff, and watching it back on TV, you could see the frustration in Slater's eyes, and just see him get hot and just end the match like 3 minutes in. And Dickie comes back to the locker room first, and you can see he's pissed. None of us saw it live. We were all in the dressing room. It was a hockey dressing room, and had no lockers in it, just the little spaces you put your stuff. But as Evan comes through the door, Dickie says, "What the hell was that out there?" He says, "You tried to eat me up out there." And Slater says, "I'm going to eat you up in here." As Slater nailed him into one of the open spaces, grabbed him in a titty twister. Slater titty twisted old Evan, and that's a tough hold, man. And it was myself and Manny Fernandez and Chavo Guerrero, the closest to the door, and all three of us pulled Slater off of Evan. Evan wrote me and said that never happened, that Slater sucker punched him. Now, Slater did hit him first, and Slater got shot, but he was Evan was facing him face to face. And Slater told him, "I'm going to eat you up in here," and he came with it. So Slater was a tough guy. Slater got shot in Tampa. Wahoo McDaniel got into a fight at some bar. I think it was either Tampa or Atlanta. Might even been Atlanta. And Wahoo was pistol whipping a guy. The gun went off and hit Slater in the leg. Thank God nobody was killed. And you know, he's a tough guy. He was a tough guy. You know, an interesting guy. Definitely one of those guys that you want on your side. You know, in a war. I think.
For sure. Tony wrote back and said, "Yes, Eddie Crawford is the Snowman." So you were
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
I did. Yeah,
How was he? How was he in the ring?
he was fine. Fine with me.
Where did he really make a big name for himself? Mid South or
Mid
Memphis?
South, I believe. Yeah, Mid South, and then he went to Memphis, and I think what happens to a lot of guys happened to him, just too much too soon, and you know, better to burn out than fade away, I guess.
Do you like that nickname for promoters? If the promoter is being called a Snowman by a
Well,
group of
after I saw the Elvis movie, yeah, I thought it was very apropos.
did
You
you
know,
did you see that with Ariel Helwani and Tony Khan? Did you see that?
see what?
Ariel Helwani, that was his nickname for Tony Khan. He was calling him the Snowman.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he probably got it from the movie with Elvis. Have you seen the Elvis movie?
No, I got to see that though. I have
You got
HBO,
it.
so I got to check that out. Yeah, it looks
You
awesome.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. Tom Hanks plays a great Colonel Parker, and it's a well put together movie, and he calls himself the Snowman because they're snowing everybody, they're conning everybody. It's a carny deal, man. And
Oh, he meant Snowman like something else. Some like
who?
when Helwani was saying about Tony Khan, he was saying that he does some extracurricular activities, with the old,
Really? Oh, I
yeah,
thought he
like
might have meant he's just a con man.
no, that's what he's referring to. Yeah,
You mean he loves cocaine?
yeah, yeah,
Don't say that out loud. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Ex-
I had no idea. I thought you meant he was a shyster. He was a con
No,
man. He
no.
was.
He was taking a shot at him, saying that he's all hopped up.
Oh wow. Okay.
A little bit of a low blow for sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Jeff says, "What's your favorite indie promotion in East Tennessee?"
Well, right now my favorite Indian promotion in East Tennessee is SPCW, and Joe Kazana promotion is second. Actually, they both head in head because they both been great.
Here's a good question. Where are they from? Cole here. What is the best exercise to make you bulk up and the quickest for wrestlers? They want to get bulky and get muscular.
Well, eat a lot, but also work out. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist or nutrition, but I will say this: if you go to the gym and you're eating right, which means obviously cut the sugar out. I think sugar's the worst offender of all the foods, and they get everybody. But I think bulking up, uh, back in the day, there was a handbook that some people got a hold of, and they said you can eat everything you want as long as you're training and working out. So, if you're trying to bulk, you need to eat more food than you're eating now, and train your ass off. It's amazing because there were moments throughout my career, throughout my life, where I'd hit the gym on a regular basis consistently. If that's not redundant, I don't know what is. But then there were times when I wouldn't, and just you could get in shape by wrestling in the ring every night. So I missed the boat a lot of times by not going to the gym and just staying in shape and doing the things you need to do. But I think if you eat right, it's easy to find out how to eat right. A meal prep, you can bulk up and do pretty much anything you want.
Charles said maybe some steroids, and he threw in cocaine is fun.
Well,
Interesting.
that's you, Charles.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Jenny Garth was celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame for her appearance at WrestleMania 10. She still looks good, so why not? She hasn't really aged. Or aged well, I guess you could say.
okay.
90210 Jenny Garth, yeah.
You can say
B40,
that.
yeah. B40. The kid who played Elvis should win an Oscar.
I think he did, didn't he? I think he won an award right before Lisa Marie died. Oh, that was a Golden Globe.
Yeah, I think the Oscars. I don't think is out yet, right? I don't think
Okay,
it happened.
okay. I knew he had won something when Lisa right before Lisa Marie died.
Jason said, "I think Ariel is just saying that Tony Khan likes the smell of Coke."
He doesn't like Coke. He just wants to smell it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah, yep. From this motherfucker, are there any funny or interesting stories involving refs outside of the ring?
Yes, and I can't tell him. Mike Chioda, yeah, Mike Chioda was a good one. So was Nick Patrick.
Oh,
Yeah, but I don't know that I can. I
divulge it
don't.
on the air.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I can divulge it right now.
Memories of New Jack.
The last time I saw New Jack actually was in Sevierville, and I always got along with Jack. I mean, I really did. He really was that guy, but he was a lot different too once you got to know him. Did you know Jack?
A little bit, yeah. It's funny. I did a show with him, and I said, "Oh, let's take a picture." He goes, "Hold on a second." He goes, "Let me get my knife." So he gets this huge freaking knife, and he holds it up to my throat, and he's like, "All right, good picture, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wasn't expecting that." I'm like, "What the
Right.
hell did I?" But super nice guy though. Like away
Yeah.
from taking pictures, and all, super cool guy, and
Right. We
actually was like a kind of a big fan of the business, like more so than I would have believed.
No, he was. Yeah, but we took him. I took him after the show in Sevierville. We went and had some drinks and talked, and uh, I we it's one of those things where you can see somebody that you haven't seen in 15 years, and it's like you just saw him yesterday, and you go to the bar and you're talking, and it's about absolutely nothing and everything all at the same time. And that's how it was. You know, he had his Long Island iced tea, and then he had a beer. Yeah, a mug full of beer too. So he had his iced tea and beer, or I forgot what he was drinking. It might have been vodka and cranberry juice. Come to think of it, so you know, so that hadn't changed. But we had a nice time. I mean, he was cool as ever, and like I said, I couldn't remember what we talked about except it was everything and nothing all at the same time.
Barbara wants to know, how do you teach those bumps that he took?
You don't. That's one of those things you either have or you don't. Yeah, how do you teach McFoley? Yeah, you can't. It's like how are you? Ask somebody how are you so creative? Well, it's like asking a bird how do you fly. You just do. It's one of those things you either have it or you don't. And some guys can bump and some guys can't. Some guys can take those crazy bumps and some guys can't. But even the guys who can take the crazy bumps will feel it the rest of their lives.
And Mick is definitely feeling it. He's not walking around too good.
Right, right. So I don't know.
And Slim says, Tom is the only one to respond to me as far as wrestling, and I appreciate that. Wow, Slim.
Well, I don't think that's your real name, Slim, but I'm glad I did.
B40. My brother had to ref an indie match with New Jack. He was terrified. He got me and three of my cop buddies 4 front row tickets just in case. So he was terrified that he had to ref the match with New Jack.
Well, maybe he should rethink his place in the business. I mean, you know, it's a work. Jack knew it was a work, but he thought shoot, and that was why he was so great at what he did. He was authentic. But when you have people who are so scared that they're not sure what's what, well, then maybe they ought to rethink what they're doing.
Barbara, please tell us where we can get the book from the future Hall of Famer, Dr. Tom. That's
Outstanding. Well, you
great
can
book.
get that book right there that you're holding in your hands at jpwrestlingacademy.com. Go to the top tab, click on training, and that will come up on the front page. And it's a book of suggestions, drills, and ideas and thoughts and comments. So jpwrestlingacademy.com. you can get the book and also find out when we are starting our next class. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Jason. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Of course, follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, anything else going on?
No, we're just finishing up our winter session of JPWA in a couple weeks, and everybody's working hard, and we're about to have our graduation March 25th. Everything is looking up.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody out there. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.